I still have my gloves. Oh my God! Why are they shooting at us? Why do you have a gun? Take the wheel.
The smartest thing Ride or Die does right away is build itself around contrast. Not just contrast in tone, though that is a huge part of it, but contrast in identity. The trailer opens by grounding Judith and Debbie's friendship, showing how deep and long-standing their bond is before the chaos arrives. That matters because it gives the whole show emotional leverage. Judith is not running with a random sidekick. She's running with someone whose opinion matters, whose safety matters, and whose shock at discovering the truth cuts much deeper than if this were just another partner pulled into danger setup. The comedy works better because the friendship feels real. The danger works better for the same reason. It is not enough for them to survive. The show has to sell the idea that their connection can survive the truth too. That is where Hannah Waddingham becomes the perfect center for this. Waddingham already has the kind of screen presence that makes authority feel effortless. What makes this trailer interesting is the way it weaponizes that. Instead of just letting her play commanding in the glamorous, polished sense, Ride or Die seems to turn her into someone whose composure hides an entire life of violence, discipline, and controlled deception. That is a great lane for her. She looks like someone who can walk into a room, smile, and then calmly take it apart if she has to. But the trailer is careful not to make Judith feel robotic or untouchable. The whole thing works because once the mask slips, you can feel how much strain she is under. She is not just a professional killer. She is someone trying to protect a friendship while the machinery of the life she built starts collapsing around her. That is a much better angle than simply making her an unstoppable assassin. Octavia Spencer is just as important to why this setup clicks. If Judith is the controlled center of the storm, Debbie is the human reaction the audience gets to ride along with. She is the person blindsided by how insane this all really is, which gives the show its comic release valve. But Spencer is too good an actor for the role to stop there, and the trailer seems to understand that. Debbie is not just there to scream, panic, and ask questions. Her situation matters too, especially once the trailer reveals that her husband stole millions from the mob. That detail is smart because it prevents the show from becoming one-sided. Judith is not simply dragging Debbie into danger. Debbie's world is already collapsing in its own way. That gives both women their own reasons to run, their own emotional burdens, and their own secrets infecting the dynamic. The friendship is not just being tested by Judith's truth. It is being tested by the fact that Debbie's life is not as simple and innocent as it first appears either. That kind of symmetry is exactly what can elevate a show like this, because on the surface, Ride or Die could have easily settled for being a slick odd couple fugitive series with jokes, guns, and a handful of stylish locations. There is nothing wrong with that formula when it is executed well, but the trailer suggests something slightly richer. It looks like a show about what happens when two women in midlife realize the people closest to them never truly knew the full truth about the lives they were living. One hid violence, one hid proximity to criminal disaster, and now both are trapped in a situation where honesty is no longer optional. That is strong material, especially for a genre that often treats female friendship as decorative rather than structurally essential. The action itself also looks promising because the trailer does not try to oversell scale at the expense of clarity. A lot of streaming action shows fall into the same trap. They think louder automatically means better. Bigger locations, faster cutting, more explosions, less coherence. Ride or Die looks more controlled than that. The gunfire, the escape beats, the chase energy, and the close quarters tension all seem built around character rather than around empty spectacle. That is a huge advantage. Peyton Reed's involvement as a director and executive producer probably helps there too. He knows how to keep things light on their feet without losing momentum, and this series looks like it needs exactly that kind of rhythm. Not heavy grimness, not parody, a clean, fast-moving balance where the comedy sharpens the danger instead of undercutting it. Bill Nighy also immediately gives the show extra weight. He barely needs any screen time to make Judith's world feel larger and more threatening. The moment his character forces the choice between Debbie and the organization, the show snaps into a clearer shape. That is the point where the premise stops being simply secret assassin on the run and becomes a story about loyalty, systems, and choosing a human relationship over the machinery that once gave your life purpose. That is always a strong dramatic engine. It is especially strong here because Judith does not look like someone who makes messy emotional choices lightly. If she is breaking from her employers, then the series has a real betrayal at its center, not just a convenient excuse for more action scenes. And that is probably the biggest reason the trailer lands. Ride or Die understands that friendship is not just a sweet side ingredient, it is the whole point. The title alone tells you that, but the trailer actually earns it. Judith and Debbie are not just surviving together. They are being forced to reevaluate who they are to each other after years of incomplete truth. That gives the action a much better emotional charge. Every gunshot, every chase, every escape, every lie exposed means more because the show is not just asking whether they get out alive. It is asking whether they still choose each other once the fantasy versions of their lives are gone. That is exactly the kind of thematic center a series like this needs if it wants to be memorable instead of disposable. It also helps that Prime Video clearly seems to know what it is selling. The trailer leans into the absurdity just enough to make the tone feel playful, but not so hard that it turns the show into a joke. That balance matters. Audiences are usually willing to go anywhere with a series like this as long as it understands its own lane. Ride or Die looks like it does. It knows the concept is heightened. It knows the appeal of seeing Waddingham pivot from football boardroom queen to globe-trotting assassin is part of the fun. And it knows Octavia Spencer gives the whole thing enough warmth and grounded reaction to keep it from floating off into pure genre gimmickry. The timing is interesting too. Waddingham is about to return to Ted Lasso soon after, which means Ride or Die gets to benefit from that visibility while showing a very different side of what she can do. That could be a real asset. Viewers who come in expecting Rebecca Welton with a gun may end up finding something more volatile, more secretive, and more bruised than that. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments. This is where these kinds of films come to life. Until the next story, stay curious, be critical, keep your eyes on the screen. And remember, every film you haven't seen is a new film.